Hello, my friend, and welcome back. Today, I want to do a little card pull and see what kind of message the universe has for us today. Oh, say hi to Lorenzo over here. Ooh, I don't think we've drawn this card before. Ooh, this is so pertinent, I think, to me personally, and I hope this resonates with you as well. So we drew the Trust Your Path card, and it says, if you knew you would be supported, what would you do? And it's so interesting that we drew this card because this was actually the question that I was asking myself last night. And it wasn't so much, I phrased it differently, but it was definitely the same question. I asked myself, if I were to let go of any fear, what would I do? If I were to put the fear aside, what would my next actions be? And I think that it's so coincidental, but not coincidental, of course, because there are no coincidences, that we drew this card. And I am actually being called, I think that we should read exactly what it says in the book, but I don't know what the page is, because I never actually go to the book. But since I'm feeling called to, let's see what the book has to say. So, trust your path. If you knew you would be supported, what would you do? The universe is conspiring. Keep facing your true north. Your job is not to pave the path, but simply keep facing your true north and take one step after another. If you do this, you can't go wrong. The universe is conspiring. Don't waver or doubt. Use your heart as a compass and put one foot in front of the other. If you follow the invisible trail of what lights you up, you will light up the world without even trying. Most people don't follow the highest call of their soul because they are waiting to see the end destination before they take the first step. If you take one baby step each day, within a year, you will have taken 365 steps in your dedicated direction. If you want to write a book, write a page every day. If you want to change careers, do one thing every day in dedication to that. Before you know it, in just a year from now, you will turn back and look in awe at how far you have journeyed. Keep moving and open yourself up to a whole new level of support and receiving. Things are not going to work out the way you are planning, but if you have a little faith and keep showing up, they will work out even better than you could possibly imagine. Don't micromanage the universe, trust your path, and let your soul lead the way. And I'm so glad that we read that, because I just felt like that was such a pertinent message, and we have talked about this before. We have talked about us having to take the leap and us having to take that next step, and that the universe will lay out our path as we take the step by step. It is not intended for us to fully see the path. We just need to trust that it is there, and trust that as we take the next step, that that stone for the next stone on our path will appear exactly at the time we need it. And this is something that I have been trying to remind myself with, and I've been kind of grappling with, is the idea of this divine timing. And it was funny, I could tell even as I was reading this, my ego was chiming in. take one step for a year and you'll look back in a year and see it and all. And it's like, well, sometimes I don't want to wait a year for something, or, you know, I want things to be sooner, or I want things to be further away, or, you know, we have these human egoic desires of what we think the timing should be. And it is very frustrating and definitely really, really challenging to understand that things are in divine timing and they are not in our human timing. And that having that awareness does make it a little bit easier, because if you didn't have that awareness, you would just be falling over yourself in frustration over and over again, trying to force things that weren't ready yet. So it does make it a little bit easier having that awareness, and constantly being able to go back to that awareness is really helpful, but it doesn't mean that it's not challenging. It doesn't mean that it doesn't take constant reminding and constantly going back to your faith and just reminding yourself that things are in the divine's timing. Things aren't in my timing. And, you know, my job is only to take the very next step. My job is to only, you know, work on opening my heart and listening to my intuition. My job is not to plan every single thing down to the smallest detail. Now, it's okay to have goals and to, you know, want to work towards something. That is kind of what fuels us to keep going, is when we do have that forward vision. But it's in the flexibility of how that forward vision is going to come to fruition. It's in that flexibility, and it is in that balance of knowing that you can have that forward vision, but it can also change, and the divine might send you a message or a sign that that vision is about to change, or that it needs to change, that it is no longer suited to the growth that you have experienced. It is no longer suited to the person that you are becoming, because we are the only ones that want to, you know, go from point A to point B, and not only be able to see point A and point B, but we also want to be able to see the path ahead. But getting from point A to point B, you may think you know how you're going to get there, but the divine has other plans, because there might be other lessons along the way, or, you know, maybe the divine has a grander plan for you, or it just looks a little bit different, because by the time you get to that point B, you are a different person than you were when you started at point A. And the divine is the one who coordinates all of that, who understands our growth on a soul level, who understands our deepest soul's desires and our needs. And the divine wants to fulfill all of those needs and wants to fulfill all those desires, but not exactly when they come from an egoic standpoint. And it can be mind-boggling to be like, well, what's an egoic desire? What's a need? What's this? And we kind of letting go of that and letting the divine, you know, that saying, let go and let God. If you were to let the divine take care of some of those things and trust some of those things, we wouldn't have to work so hard at the manifestation and the visualization and the be specific and the get detailed. You know, if we were able to be more in the flow of life and just trust that the divine knows all of our heart's desires and the divine wants to deliver them to us, and that we were going to get everything that we wanted and needed, and that we were creating a life that we absolutely love to live, and we were creating that through the divine, with the divine, because remember, we are co-creators. We do create our reality, but it is only to a certain extent, because some things need to happen in order for other things to that need to happen. You know, life is kind of like a domino effect. One thing affects the other, and we never know what the link is. We never know what the chain is or what the next dominoes are to fall. So that is why we need to really work on releasing our judgment to whether things are good or bad. Something in my work life happened yesterday, and I could definitely label that as bad. It could definitely be labeled as something that I didn't want to happen, and I would have rather have gone a different way, but it didn't go that way. But this is when I feel the inner work working. This is when I feel the work working, because I am not upset over it. Granted, in the moment and a little bit last night, it was aggravating, but knowing that I have the ultimate trust in the divine and that the divine is coordinating everything gives me so much hope. I woke up this morning feeling so happy, and I woke up feeling so faithful. So faithful in the divine that, okay, just because it didn't work out the way that I was planning doesn't mean that it's not going to work out for the best. So I am just going to take that next step. What is that next step? Something that I knew I had this plan in my mind. If this didn't happen, I was going to do this. It's like, okay, so now just go and do that. So I really love this card. And to trust your path, and to know that your path is divinely guided, and to know that your path can change from what you think it was going to be. You might be like, oh, well, this is totally different than I thought it was going to be. And the divine is like, just on time as I thought it was going to be. So let's remind ourselves, let's keep our ego in check. Let's move forward as if we knew we were going to be supported. Because even in a time of having to pivot, we are still supported. We are even more supported as we go around those curves of a pivot than we could ever imagine. And we just need to tap into that support and have faith in that support. So that is the name of the game for today. This was our beautiful card to trust your path. I really loved this message for myself personally, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. My name is Anne, and I hope to see you next time.